trust is a commodity in our current world that is at an all-time low. Seriously, like there's less trust in the world than ever before. People don't trust institutions. People don't trust politicians. People don't trust leadership. People don't trust ownership. Within that challenge lies an incredible opportunity for leaders.
Briefly inform the audience on what it is that you do.
Yeah, so it helps a little bit on what I do to give a little bit of background. I always tell people no one would ever take their career path on purpose that I did on accident. I love that. Really, I have two background sets. One is in the marketplace, working for scaling businesses, working for entrepreneurial businesses. I've been a part of 4 different startups, which is kind of crazy to say out loud. That's more than it seems like. And I've spent about half my career in startups and scaling businesses. And then not quite half my career, a little less than that actually. I was actually a licensed counselor for a little while. And so I had these 2 experience sets of, working in the day-to-day of businesses, being in the P&L, being in strategy, being in the operations. And then I also spent some time as a licensed counselor, doing over 5,000 hours of therapy in, 6 or 7 years. And for the last 3.5 years of my career, I've now been a CEO coach and strategist. Which is a really awkward thing to say, like at a dinner party when somebody's like, I'm a banker, what do you do? And you're like, I'm a CEO, coach, and strategist. It doesn't really roll off the tongue really well. So I carry a portfolio of clients, mostly CEOs, and we do completely tailored coaching plans on the most high leverage, high impact, high value things in a CEO's world. And that's typically things of strategy, leadership, financials, and even life. It's really fun work. I get to know the most interesting people in all sorts of different industries, and feel really, really fortunate to get to do it. I've got a few folks on our team that we work with that I really enjoy working with, fellow coaches as well. And so that's what I do.
The one question that I wanted to ask you and for people to hear is that connection between an LCSW and coaching. Yeah. The thing about that work that you did, the art behind that, so there's a science behind
That's right.
it. Yeah. But the art behind it is the way that you ask questions.
Yeah.
So do you bring that forward when you're working with clients?
That's a great question, Alan. I don't know that I was ever good at the science behind it, but I definitely learned the art behind it. Doing that many hours of one-on-one or in marriage therapy, 1-on-2 counseling, it really teaches you the art of outside perspective, really helps you find your voice, your posture, your strengths as that person in the outside perspective seat. And so while the context is very different, many of the skills translate. I have conversations all the time with people who want to become coaches, and they're coming from a pastoral role or they're coming from a counseling role, and they want to know, could I become a coach? And I tell them a lot of those skills you use translate. Now you're going to have to learn how to situate them in a new context, and that's going to be critically important. But a lot of those skills will translate. And I certainly call on that experience all the time with clients.
Yeah. In the work that you do, it's a lot of times people misinterpret what business coaches do or executive coaches do. It's not manipulation. Those are, I almost said those are, I'm glad I didn't get all the words out of my mouth.
It's your podcast, Alan. You can say it, man.
So there's a difference between consulting and coaching.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I always explain it is coaches pull the answer out of you and consultants beat it into you. Right?
Yeah.
It's
pretty good.
The way that you have been trained to do from way back when was how to pull the answers out of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No doubt. And I think So I have a couple of thoughts around that, Alan. One is every person in outside perspective, like not even just coaches, a leader who's jumping down into the team of somebody that they manage, a friend, a mentor, an advisor, a board member, a coach. We all have to learn our own voice and posture for outside perspective. So I'll give you an example there. My mentor and business partner is a guy named Steve Graves. He's been doing coaching for decades. And really, he's the one who taught me how to be a coach. He taught me how to take my counseling experience, take my marketplace experience, and merge those together into a CEO coach. I had to get really comfortable with the differences in how Steve is a coach and how I am a coach. Because we have a lot of things in common, but there are some stark contrasts as well. I think as a coach, I use space a lot. Like I will ask a question and let it sit and really let it marinate. And I did this yesterday with a client, asked them kind of a really big picture, macro level question that was intentionally pushing them a little bit, and then really let it sit and let them kind of ramble around their answer and find their own words and find their own thoughts. Steve he also has 3 decades of experience as a coach to lean into. Yeah. He's a little quicker to the point. And some of his clients really, really love that. And so I think it's important, not only do we both lean into drawing things out of our clients, but we have our own styles in doing that. And I think it's really, really important for leaders, anybody sitting in that outside perspective seat, to really figure out their own style and voice and persona, the tools that they've been given that are unique to anybody else, that they can then deploy in that seat of outside perspective.
I hadn't thought about this until that last few sentences you said there. Being confident is in what you're doing and how you're doing it is a big part of that, right?
It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. Seriously.
Yeah. So competency is part of the umbrella of trust, which is what this podcast is all about.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about now is being competent in those conversations, and your ability to help serve that person is one avenue of where you find trust or get clients trust you, and we have to trust our clients, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really, as I get to know a potential client, I really try to ask myself, do I think I can help this person? Like, do I have the skills, the experience, the tools, the frameworks, to come in and deliver value for them? I think any coach would tell you the last thing in the world I want to do is sign up a client, send an invoice every month, and feel like I'm not helping them at all. That's bad for them. It's bad for the coach, kills my confidence.
Right.
They have a bad experience, not good for my brand, not good for their value. And so we really do try to scrape. Now, we all want clients. Everybody, we're all trying to keep the lights on, run a business, bring something home to the house. So it's not like I'm not trying to create the persona that we're out there just sending away 10 clients a month because we don't think it's a great fit. But I really do want to scrape and ask the questions like, can I help this person? Because to your point, then I'm going to come into that conversation with more trust, or with more confidence. That confidence is going to be something that hits the client in a way that they're more engaged in the experience, that they now have more buy-in, and that's where the self-fulfilling prophecy starts to take over. I'm thinking about that same client from yesterday that I was with. It's a client that I'm fortunate to have walked really similar roads to the one they are on with other clients. And so I have more confidence, more competence there than even many of my other clients. And it's unbelievable the momentum that's creating in their world right now, because I'm confident they're reacting to that in a way that increases their buy-in. They're taking what we're doing in coaching and immediately implementing it into their world. They're seeing the value from it. They come back, they're like, Ben, we did these 6 things. It was awesome. Now I feel more confident.
Yeah.
I have more confidence. They have more buy-in. And here we go. Like the momentum just builds. So it's absolutely true. And I really do think, if you're a coach out there and you're thinking about taking a new client, but you have a pretty low degree of confidence in your ability to help them, you really need to think twice about that. And that's so hard when you're building a book of business. Mm-hmm. It's much easier when you have a mature book of business. But you really need to consider that, because the long run ROI on taking on something that you're not sure you can help is really low and can actually be pretty damaging.
Yeah, I'm full of analogies. My wife rolls her eyes when I do it all the time, and it's like a person that builds a house buys the newest, greatest tool, whatever it is, and he doesn't know how to use it effectively, right? It's a great tool and it's very expensive, and I'm sure it serves purpose, but if you don't know how to swing that hammer the right way,
that's right,
you can damage the board.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You can damage the board. That's if you're able to take a long-term view there and say what's best for that, not only what's best for that client, but what's also best for my book of business long-term, my brand as a coach long-term, is to really seek out clients that I can help. That's going to be a win for everybody.
Yeah. I think we could go the whole podcast. But I do have another question. I want to go back to the startup experience.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people that have that experience.
Yeah.
And that one comes with a lot of scratches and bruises, and there's a lot that goes on with the startup, because not all of them are easy.
Yep.
Right. So talk about the experience as an entrepreneur, being in a startup process, and what that experience has helped you do when you serve clients.
Yeah. So I've been a part of a couple of different startups. Both myself in the founder seat and just as an early team member at a startup. I actually was the 7th employee ever at a company called Harvest Group, which is here in Northwest Arkansas, which is now not just in Northwest Arkansas, but all over the country. And that was an incredible experience. I founded a counseling clinic with a business partner. And so literally was there from day one, was part of another joined a founder before he even named his organization one time, really, really early on. And then, of course, now have founded my own coaching practice and am running that. A couple of things come to mind when you ask the question, Alan. Number one is I look back to some of the earlier startups that I was a part of, and ignorance is bliss, sometimes. When I compare like starting the counseling clinic to starting my coaching practice, I was so much more stressed out starting my coaching practice, because at that point I was 40 and, have 3 kids,
right,
and a life that I'm trying to live. When I started my counseling practice with my business partner, I was 27 and didn't have 2 nickels to rub together anyway, and it didn't matter.
What have I got to lose?
Yeah,
right?
Let's just go for it. So ignorance can be bliss, and actually can be a little bit helpful sometimes.
Right.
No, I think, I'm thinking of another client right now, Alan, who is 15 years into his founder experience. And sometimes I'll sit down with him on harder months and I can see it on his face. Nobody gets the blood, sweat, and tears that the founder takes on in those 15 years. Nobody understands the risk that they take on in the very, very early beginning part of that founder experience, and then multiple more times through the next 15 years. The line of credit that they tap to make payroll. So few people understand that. And I'm looking at my client. He's talking about tapping his line of credit. And I'll ask him, like, does anybody here know that you're tapping the line of credit to make payroll? And it's actually going to be fine because their receivables list is long, and they're in a good place, and they're going to make money for the year. But June rolls up, and the bills are higher than the revenue that month, and it's the P&L is going to be fine, but the cash flow is a mess.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of weight to sit in. And so I think having been in that seat and felt the stress of what decisions am I going to make this month because of where we're at from a cash flow standpoint, translates really, really well. Yeah. The decisions that you have to make from a strategy standpoint, the decisions you have to make from a people standpoint, that weight is so unique. And a lot of times, particularly with a founder, sometimes I'll draw a circle for a client. And on the inside circle, it's just them, the founder. And then I'll draw a bigger circle outside of that I'll slice into like 7 or 8 pieces. And on that outside circle, in those different pieces, there's team members, there's family members, there's hobbies, maybe there's church, there's friendship. There's all these different little pockets of the founder's life. But maybe nobody sits in that middle circle with the founder where the founder fully lets their walls down and says, here's what it's like at home right now. Here's what it's like managing down to my team right now. Here's what it's like when I look at the bank account right now. Here's what it's like when I think about what I want for my business in 7 years. Here's, so forth and so on. And I was actually thinking about this next idea yesterday when I was just kind of thinking about coming on your show. So much of trust is built when you can show the other person that you understand what it's like to be in their seat in that moment. Yeah. And that's a universal truth, Alan. Like, no matter whether we're talking about a founder or somebody we manage down to, or a board that we manage up to, or a friend that we're having a hard conversation with.
Yeah.
If you can show somebody, whether you agree with them or not, that you understand, or that you can at least understand for a moment what it's like to be in their position at that time, that's the path to trust. Yeah. I mean, to me, I'm sure you get you're going to have to write a trust book at some point now, because you get a lot of different people's perspectives and probably a lot of different great ideas about how to build trust. But my number one hack for building trust with people is to show them that I can understand their perspective in that moment.
Compassion.
Yeah.
It's compassion.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. Absolutely.
Compassion for them and their situation.
That's right.
Some people use the word empathy, right?
Yeah.
But it's compassion.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell a quick story. This morning, my 13-year-old, okay? My 13-year-old is going to walk 9 holes with his buddies, playing golf today, okay? Because it's summer break,
right.
And then they're going to walk over to Slim's and they're going to eat way too much fried chicken. And he's very excited about his day. Well, he wakes up and he comes downstairs and his mom tells him, my wife, hey, bud, your tennis coach called and he's got an opening today at 3 and you're going to go. Ooh. And I see it on his face. He's mad. He's not happy. He's immediately like, how much of my time with my buddies is this going to cut into? And the argument is starting. Like here it comes. And I'm like,
I got a podcast go to.
I'm going to slide on out, you guys. But what I tried to do in that moment was look at him and say, hey, I need you to see 2 things. One, I totally get that this is going to cut into your time with your buddies. And that stinks. Like, no questions asked. You thought you had from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. And that's getting cut short. That makes total sense that you're bummed about that. At the same time, I need you to see the perspective of your mom, who's trying to help you reach a goal that you said was important to you. And the coach texted and said, I got a spot. Do you want it? And she made a call and said yes. And oh, by the way, she's going to pay for it. And oh, by the way, she's going to pick your butt up from the golf course and drive you over there. Your life's not too terrible. But like, so just trying to jump to perspective and going, even if I'm actually okay, bud, if you're still mad about it. But I want you to know I see your perspective and I need you to see her perspective. That's where trust is built over and over and over again, is in those unique perspectives and entering into the situation and the place of somebody. That is unbelievably important in me building trust with my clients, with the CEOs that I'm coaching. But it's also unbelievably important in all of our leadership, particularly of our management of the people that report to us. Can we demonstrate that to those folks?
Yeah. What you just described through that story was clarity. How to clarify for him so that he can understand. And clarity is a key to building trust, because the opposite of clarity is ambiguous, right?
Yep. Clarity. One of my mentors used to say, what's the story you're telling yourself? What's the story you're telling yourself? Because the story my son was telling himself in that moment was, my mom doesn't want me to spend time with my buddies and she's making me go to tennis.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? That was the story he was telling himself. When the real story was, your mom's trying to help you reach your goal.
Yeah.
And she made a call. So clarity, and what's the story you're telling yourself? Because in a space where we lack clarity, we make up stories, we make up information, we make up perspectives, right? Like not in a manipulative or way that we're trying to hurt people. It's just what human beings do when they don't have that clarity. They form their own stories. And so it's good to pause and go, what's the story I'm telling myself here? Might it be off? Is there actually a more accurate story? And in that clarity, when we facilitate that clarity in the context of relationships, that's where trust is built.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that I'll have conversations with clients and they'll say, oh, I've seen this before. I'm like, oh, and so this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean you've seen this before? Oh, I know how this is going to end up. Well, what makes you say that? How are you drawing that conclusion?
Yeah.
And, you start to uncover these things. And to me, it's not necessarily, it's more gamification of it. That's the way I have to look at it so that I stay curious with my questions.
Absolutely. I don't know if when you said gamification, I think about my role as a coach to, in the seat of outside perspective, to say, okay, you've got this predicted path because you've seen this before. What else could it be though? What else is possible? And you're about to drive the bulldozer through the front door. Okay. All right.
At full speed.
Before we do that, might there be a side door that's unlocked that maybe we could go check just real quick and see if that door is open, and maybe we could go through that.
Maybe we don't have to break a window.
Yeah. Maybe the whole front wall of the house doesn't have to come down today.
Right. Yeah. The other thing that you brought up in sharing the story about your son, what I was hearing behind your words was some emotion in there.
Yeah.
And that's another thing with business owners and running a business. It's especially for founders, whether they've started up or they've bought a new business, that emotion is hard to step away from.
Oh, yeah.
And it clouds, like what we were just talking about now, driving that bulldozer through the front door, sometimes clouds our judgment because as an owner, you have this higher sense of urgency because your house and assets are on the line, that kind of thing. So talk a little bit about bringing that emotion or wrestling with that emotion and what your experience is with business owners, how you help them with that.
Yeah. So I'll talk about it first within the context of the coaching meeting, and then second, maybe outside of, when they go back into their world. I'm thinking about a client right now. I was sitting with in April in Los Angeles, California, $100 million company. really cool business, trying to do some really neat things. And we were wrestling with some P&L decisions that were going to lead directly to a strategic initiative and to people decisions. And we're wrestling with it, and we're talking about all the different angles. And we had this discussion for about 25 minutes. And then all of a sudden, almost out of nowhere, he gets real quiet. You can literally, if you've ever been in that moment, you can feel the emotion welling up within him. And then he literally starts to cry. Like not big boo-hoos, but like the subtle tear, rolling down his face. And he said, I'm sorry. I was like, all I see on your face right now is passion and compassion, like nothing else. You don't need to apologize. You're wrestling with extremely heavy decisions that are going to impact other people. And you're trying to figure out what to do. And he said, I just want to do the right thing. And I was like, I absolutely love that. And your emotions there are not a negative thing at all. I share all that to say, when it comes to emotion within the context of the coaching meeting, that's where my desire to leave some space in the conversation is really helpful. Because if I jump in too quickly with a clarifying question, or if I jump in too quickly with the part of the story that I'm most interested in, I can steer them away from where they're headed. I can steer them away from, the powerful part of the story, the most important part of the story, or maybe the part of the story that they just haven't gotten to yet, but they're heading there. And so I've got to leave some space to allow that to play out. And I think that's a really important thing for leaders. And I want to be clear there. I think there are times when leadership has to be extremely directive. Okay. Like the whole hands-off leadership thing is not for me. There are times when we need leaders to make calls and we need to roll, and everybody needs to go with where the leader says to go. There are also times where leaders need to leave more space and allow things to play out a little more. And that, I mean, you want to talk about some of the magic sauce of leadership, learning when to lean in like that and when to lean back is part of the magic of leadership. And so leaving space sometimes in the coaching session is incredibly important and incredibly powerful. So that's managing some of those emotions in the coaching space. Flipping back to, how am I talking to my clients about taking their emotions back into the workplace with their team? It really differs client from client. There are some clients where I'm going, hey, we might dial that down just a little bit. Okay. I'm not asking you to be unemotional. You're an emotional being. That's awesome.
Right.
Let's pick our spots a little bit and dial it down. And then there's other clients. I told a client a couple months ago who was tapping his line of credit to meet payroll. I said, hey, does your leadership team know that you're doing that? And he said no. And I said, you need to tell them. Because right now, your stress doesn't make sense to them. And they're creating a story about that.
Right. Yeah. Their story.
Because you're not telling them this incredibly important piece of context. And oh, by the way, that your home is secured against that line, or that line of credit is secured against your home, the one that you're establishing for your family. And so there are different messages around managing those emotions for different clients, but that's where it comes back to, Alan. Leaders have got to really understand themselves well. Like you've got, and I'm not just talking about like, I took the Enneagram test and I'm an 8. Okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah.
Or, oh, my strengths finder is blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Great. Like seriously, those are helpful. But you need a lot more depth than that on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you need the kind of detailed understanding of your own wiring that only comes from self-perspective, from a lifetime of reflection, from a lifetime of pursuing feedback.
So self-awareness, absolutely.
Right.
Emotional intelligence.
That's right. I mean, when if your spouse or your child gives you a piece of hard feedback that you don't agree with, you need to be looking for the slices of truth within that and building that composite view of yourself. When you get feedback in the workplace or from a board member or from a hard employee or from whoever, whether you agree with it or not, you need to be taking some of that and going, what's the truth in here that I need to build? I mean, I'll throw myself under the bus here real quick. My wife,
vulnerability builds trust.
That's right. Here we go. My wife likes to tell me, Ben, when you're done with people, you're real done with people. And I'm like, oh, that does not feel great, honey. But it's so true. Right. Whether it's 9:30 and you're on my back porch and I want you to go home because I want to go to sleep and I get short and rude and I'm like turning lights off and, whatever. Or it's a meeting that I think, in my ridiculous perspective, the meeting's gone too long and it needs to wrap up. And what we're now talking about is unimportant because I think it's unimportant. I'm done with the meeting and you're going to know it. I can't hide it. Like it's going to be written all over my face. Well, I couldn't have told you that about me at 27. I didn't know that. It was true about me at 27, but I didn't know it about me at 27. But over, I'm 40. 42? I'm 42 now.
I have to think about it.
I don't know. It's less important all the time.
Right.
In my 40s and with 15 years since then, I've started to build this picture of who I am as a leader. And I know that that's true about me and I can work against that. And so, leaders they've got to be on this journey of self-discovery where they don't just let themselves get trampled on by the negative feedback all the time, but they also don't just go, here are my 5 strengths and I'm just going to lean into that like crazy and pretend like nothing else is real. Like they build this composite view of themselves and go, hey, I know these 3 things are my superpowers and I need to go after them like crazy. But I also there's this pattern of these 3 pieces of feedback that keep showing up and I need to work on
that. Yeah. Emotional intelligence to people that don't understand what that means and talking about self-awareness or social recognition or social awareness, all these things that fall under the umbrella of emotional intelligence, there's an art into delivering that to people and helping them see, because a lot of business owners do their thing, right? They build houses, they bake pies, they do whatever it is very well.
Yeah.
And so the backside of how they interact with others and how they handle emotion within the workplace, whether it's conflict with clients or conflict internally, that's the key to really mastering how that works, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping there's lots of business owners listening to this conversation that they're like, this is something new to me. So if you had a business owner in front of you and they had lots of conflict and they didn't understand it, what would be some things that they could do, a self-checklist to help them start to understand what you just talked about there?
Yeah, that's good. A couple of things come to mind. First, they need to you've got to have a baseline understanding of how you do conflict. So, because the advice to somebody who's conflict avoidant or the coaching to somebody who's conflict avoidant is very, very different than the coaching to someone who's high conflict or over here toxic conflict or over here, whatever, all these different. So you need a really healthy baseline of how you do conflict. And then from there, you can almost put it on this spectrum of go real classic, like fight or flight here. Like if your conflict profile is, I get real big and go real fast, then you need to take some time to prepare yourself to move into conflict a little slower and not quite so hot. And then if your pattern is conflict avoidance, then you need to build a plan to develop some habit around conflict, some structure around conflict to help you push forward. So that's one piece that I'd say. The second piece is, I tell leaders all the time, it's unbelievable how little we prepare for hard conversations. If you know you're going to have conflict, or if you know you have to give a piece of hard feedback, you need to prepare for that conversation. Like, take 15 minutes and write down the 3 most important things that you need to say in that conversation. And people will have a board meeting and they'll prepare for weeks. They'll have a big sales meeting and they'll prepare for hours. We'll be doing an interview process and we'll prepare for days. But then once we're in the confines of work and life together, all of a sudden we stop preparing for the hard, important conversations. And it's like, no. These might be more important, right? So I will regularly encourage folks, like, if you see a sea of conflict in your world, one, let's identify the different specific pieces of conflict going on. Okay, I got one over here with Bill, got one over here with Sally, I got 3 over here with Frank. Like, let's identify the different ones, and then let's prepare. Like, let's spend some thoughtful time to say, I'm a big picture thinker. So like from big picture to detail, I'm way closer to big picture than to detail. So my go-to hack for that all the time is, what are my 3 things? Like, what are my 3 most important things? If that was me, I'd go to those 5 conflicts and I'd say, what are the 3 most important things on all 5 of those? And spend some time preparing. And invite the person on the other side of that fence into that preparation space. Hey, Frank, we have 3 hard conversations we want to have, or we need to have. I want them all to go well. I spent a little bit of time preparing around my 3. I'd love for you to do the same. If not, that's okay. But I just wanted you to know I am. And I think it'd be good if you did as well. And I look forward to trying to have a productive conversation around this.
That's hard to do, but so right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
To me, in that situation, a whiteboard, not a piece of paper, but a whiteboard, kind of writing and, that putting pen to paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Live in the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. That, I could go, here we are again. I could go.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, emotional intelligence and behaviors and driving forces and all that is kind of my world that I really kind of nerd out in.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that you're implementing a lot of that in your practice and how you serve as well, as far as understanding, helping the business owners understand who they are and how they operate in this world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think what might be unique about my practice, and really I just completely adopted this from my mentor, Steve. There's a lot of clients, maybe even most clients, where we actually start in the P&L, in the strategy, or even in more, traditional leadership topics. But then what we're really intentional to do is to layer that stuff on top. Okay, so here's a CEO. He's got a major P&L problem. He says, I need a coach because I got to fix this. It's like, okay, great. Well, as we line out our coaching plan to go fix those, we're layering that EQ stuff on top. We're layering the voice and posture and presence of a CEO on top. And so, for founders, as they identify the unique challenges in their world, I think a great approach to take is, let's layer those EQ things on top. Let's layer those soft skill things on top of the hard skill discussions. We don't have to separate those out.
Yeah.
Like, every time I hear it, like, some coaches will be like, yeah, I'm more of a soft skills coach, or your consultant friends that you talked about earlier are definitely more on the hard skill side,
yes.
right?
I'm direct communicators, I call them.
Let's do both. Like,
yeah,
the EQ stuff comes to life when rubber meets the road on the P&L. Like that, you want to talk about when the EQ or lack thereof of a leader shows up. Go sit in that monthly accounting close meeting, okay? on a month when profit was less than we expected it to be for the month, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where your EQ is actually going to show up.
Yes, yeah. That dreaded fifth week of a month.
Why do we split those out so much?
Yeah.
Like, let's layer those right on top of each other.
Right.
We really try to do that in our practice, and really enjoy doing that. And if I'm helping a leader prepare for a big meeting, we're going to talk about the tactical side, the strategic side, the financial side, often first, but then we're going to hit hard. How do you want to show up in that meeting? Like, how do you want to show up in that meeting? And one of my favorite things for a leader on how you want to show up in that meeting is, how are we going to leave them with some energizing hope? No matter how hard the meeting is, how do we leave folks with some hope at the end? And for founders, that's incredibly important. Now, they need somebody pouring hope into them, no doubt. Okay,
that's where third perspective.
That's where the outside perspective. But or an advisor or a community of other entrepreneurs, whatever. Somebody's gonna be pouring hope into you. But particularly if you've got a hard meeting, whether it's an evaluation, feedback, financial projections, a strategic shift, whatever, you should be scripting how you're going to create hope at the end of that meeting. It's really, really important. And we coach leaders to do that all the time.
Yeah, that's probably a good way for us to kind of wrap things up a little bit, but I have a couple questions.
Okay, great.
Right? This is hot seat kind of question or whatever. This is not intended as a curveball. All right. So Carrie Kaufman does all my work to help get this set up. She's given me some questions, and I think they're what.
Well, now I'm scared. See, I thought the questions were from you, Alan, but they're from Carrie. She's like an expert, so a podcast expert.
So a book or a couple of books that you would recommend to people.
My number one recommendation for leaders, particularly around building trust, is How to Know a Person by David Brooks. I'm telling you, if you've never read that book, anybody that's listening, you need to go buy it today and you need to read it. It is too many books on trust, emotional intelligence, leadership even are theoretical in nature, and they don't give us enough good ideas of how to practically put it into play. And How to Know a Person is a playbook on how to grow your own EQ. It's a playbook on how to develop more trust with people. It's a brilliant book. David Brooks is a brilliant author. He's got 3 or 4 books that are just tremendous. But How to Know a Person is number one. And then I'm going to go with a little bit of recency bias on my second one. And this is a faith-oriented book, so that might be more relevant for some of your listeners than others. But there's a guy named Dave Ortland that wrote a book called Deeper. And Deeper is all about just somebody's personal experience of God and how they can experience God in a deeper way, and how the reason that one's important to me, Alan, is whether it's faith for me or just centering for somebody else, particularly as a leader in the fast-paced world that we live in today, you better have something to anchor you. You better have something to be your waypoints that tell you whether you're heading in the right direction or not. And for believers, Deeper is a great book to help do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that was easy. That was easy. Yeah, that was easy.
That was great.
Let's see if there's a hard one. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. This has been fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it. And think that I told you this on our initial call, Alan, but I really mean it. The unique lens of trying to zero in specifically on trust. Trust is a commodity in our current world that is at an all-time low. Seriously, like there's less trust in the world than ever before. People don't trust institutions. People don't trust politicians. People don't trust leadership. People don't trust ownership. Within that challenge lies an incredible opportunity for leaders if they will hone in on the idea of building trust. And your podcast is this beautiful opportunity for them to do that. So I think what you're doing here is really important and really great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, thanks for being on. Now, if people want to find you, how do they find you?
Well, I put billboards up all over town. The easiest way is LinkedIn. Just find me on LinkedIn, shoot me a note, or you can go to our website, cornerstoneco.com, and find us there. And we'd love to connect.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks again for being on.
You bet.